Hey everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, and it's time to take a look at WrestleMania weekend. There's a lot of wrestling going on over WrestleMania weekend. Not just WrestleMania, there's various different things from various different promotions. I think there's like between 30 and 40 shows going on in New York and New Jersey over the course of this weekend. Starting on Wednesday even, going through Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then of course Raw and SmackDown on Monday and Tuesday. But it's not just WWE stuff. There's everything. There's shoot star wrestling, there's hardcore wrestling, there's serious wrestling, there's silly wrestling, there's Timothy Thatcher versus David Arquette, which is insane. There's a lot of wrestling, is what I'm saying. And there's Joey Ryan's Penis Party. I can't believe I forgot that as well. And I didn't just make that up. There's literally a show called Joey Ryan's Penis Party. But how do we separate the good wrestling from the bad, the worthwhile from the not so worthwhile, the wheat from the chaff? Well, never fear, because I've got your back, yo. So what I've done is I've picked 10 of the matches that I'm not the matches that I think are going to be the best of WrestleMania weekend, because that would just be boring if I just picked the best matches and just went, look at all these great wrestlers, of course they're going to have great matches. So I've done a little bit of a mixture instead. I've picked the 10 matches I think that I'm most intrigued for, and I've also limited myself to picking one match from each show. You know, I can't pick more than one match from, for example, the New Japan show or the NXT show or whatever. I can't pick more than one match from any particular card. Hopefully that'll give us a bit of a broad scope, and I must again stress this is not what I think are going to be the 10 best matches of the weekend. Some of these matches, yes, I do think will be some of the best matches of the weekend, but some, as we're about to find out, are a little bit funnier. So, without any further ado, let's take a look at 10 matches that I think you need to see over WrestleMania weekend. Before we get on with number 10, I should also mention that in the description, if you have a little look, there's links to all the streaming services for the shows that we're going to mention in this video, so you can find out, if you do want to watch these matches, you can find out where you can do so. Right, number 10, first of all, so do you remember when I said in the intro, you know, not all of these matches are going to be the best ones of the weekend? Right, it's time to talk about one that definitely is going to be one of the best matches of the weekend. Stars everywhere. Hold Dave Meltzer down before he rates this one too highly. It's Scott Steiner versus Swoggle. This match is taking place at AIW's Slumber Party Massacre, which takes place on the Thursday at 11 PM Eastern Time. I'm assuming it's called Slumber Party Massacre because, well, Slumber Party because it's quite late at night, and Massacre because it's got matches such as Scott Steiner versus Swoggle, formerly known, of course, if you didn't know, as WWE's Hornswoggle. He's doing the same thing. He's still doing his thing. What's going to happen in this match? I don't understand. I'm assuming that the pair are natural foes because, you know, Swoggle's small, Steiner's impossibly huge and a bit mean, and I don't even know where to begin with this. All I know is that I think that this is Ross's most anticipated match of the entire WrestleMania weekend, and I asked him what he thought, and he said, I just hope that Scott Steiner just gets his hands on Swoggle and just throws him as far as he can, which I sort of went, oh, good one, and then I thought, no, that's almost definitely going to happen here, isn't it? In all honesty, I don't know how they're going to do this match, but I'm assuming it's going to be very entertaining. I think so anyway. There's probably going to be a lot of run-ins, hopefully, so that Scott Steiner and Swoggle don't have to carry the load. I just really hope, actually, that Steiner doesn't try and do a Frankensteiner. If he tries to do a Frankensteiner on someone the size of Swoggle, he might break his neck. I'm really, don't go for the Frankensteiner, Scott. It's all good. Just go, you know, Steiner recliner, camel clutch, all that good stuff. Few press-ups, you'll be fine. Let's go on with the list. Just an honourable mention as well, I'll be sprinkling these throughout the list. AIW Slumber Party Massacre also features Mance Warner, the current CZW champion, against Nick Gage in what is probably just going to be two men trying to legitimately murder each other, so I'm looking forward to that. Number 9, we're sticking with the same time, Thursday at 11 PM, but it's a different show. This is Impact Wrestling's WrestleMania weekend show, United We Stand. And the main event is a real clash of generations, actually, and a match that could go one of two ways. Could be brilliant, could be totally disappointing. I really hope that it's really good, but it's going to be RVD and Sabu rolling back the years, teaming together once again to take on the Lucha Bros, Penta and Phoenix. Every year, there's kind of a few guys who kind of make WrestleMania weekend their own. For example, last year, Matt Riddle was everywhere, putting on great matches with everyone. So was Osprey. So was Keith Lee just before he signed with WWE, or just before his signing with WWE was revealed to everyone. This year, I reckon that Pentagon and Phoenix, or Penta and Phoenix, could be two of the guys who really stamp it, like make their mark on WrestleMania weekend, make it their own. Maybe not so much in this match, even though this match is the one that's the most high profile out of all of their matches, certainly. I just feel as though this is going to be entertaining one way or another, for either the right or the wrong reasons. I'm not certain if the match listing on Impact's thing is the correct match listing, if this is going to be the main event, but it's always listed top or last. So it seems as though this match is going to main event. I guess you could say it's a bit of a dream match, but it's a risky one. It's a risky one. I'll certainly be watching to see what it's like, but my hopes are like middling, fair to middling for the actual quality of the match itself. I think honestly the best case scenario here would probably be for RVD and Sabu to get weapons involved pretty soon, for Sabu to hopefully nail his chair step up onto the ropes thing and not have to try it another time, and then for Pentagon and Phoenix to take over and sort of control the ebb and flow of the match. I think that's the best we can hope for here. But regardless of how good the match actually is, it is one of those ones where you look at the guys in the ring and you think, I can't believe they're all together, this is going to be a spectacle, and that's exactly why I've included it on this list. But by no means is it the only match on this Impact show that I'm looking forward to. Also on that show, we've got Tessa Blanchard versus Joey Ryan, a rare intergender match in Impact Wrestling actually. I imagine it's going to be Tessa just kicking the crap out of Joey Ryan's penis. And also, Team Lucha Underground versus Team Impact. Team Lucha Underground is Aerostar, Drago, Dagger, and King Cuerno, who's not, who's not the favourite son of Lucha Underground right now, shall we say, given their recent legal issues, versus Team Impact, which is Brian Cage, Moose, Eddie Edwards, and at the time of recording, a mystery partner. How intriguing. Sticking with Thursday, but we're going a little bit earlier on in the day. There's a lot of good shows on Thursday, or a lot of interesting ones at least. Now we're going to GCW for Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. Last year, of course, we had Matt Riddle's Bloodsport, which was one of the nice little sort of weird niche shows of WrestleMania weekend. Very entertaining stuff. A lot of shoot style, stiff strikes going on left, right and centre. Got a bit too excited there. And the match from this show that I'm looking forward to is Josh Barnett, the man himself, the man who the show is named after this year, versus Minoru Suzuki. Ooh. Now, for those of you who might be unaware, Josh Barnett has a history in professional wrestling. Yes, he's more known for his mixed martial arts career, even competing in the UFC, but he does have quite a background in wrestling. He wrestled in New Japan as far back as like the early 2000s or the early to mid 2000s. So, he knows what he's doing to a degree. He also did commentary for New Japan. I think he had quite a stint as well in Inoki's federation that he set up after New Japan. So it's all kind of, it's all kind of going all right for Josh. But then we look at Minoru Suzuki, and whoa, oh my goodness. Like, to be honest, Suzuki also has an extensive history of mixed martial arts. So these are two men who kind of know each other's game quite a lot. I don't think we're going to see that sort of match where it's all like, I know your game, I've done my homework on you. I think it's going to be two men just hitting each other very, very hard in the face and chest. Suzuki really did steal the show at last year's Bloodsport event in an excellent match with Matt Riddle. And this one, although I don't think it's going to be as good as the Matt Riddle one, could be even stiffer and even more terrifying. And you know what? WrestleMania weekend isn't just all about comedy shows and excellent indie style matches, which seem to be the two key themes when you look at like all the shows going on that weekend. A lot of comedy, a lot of excellent indie wrestling. Sometimes it's just about stiff action. No, Jack, what have you said that for? Stiff action. The other match I'm looking forward to particularly on Bloodsport is Frank Mir versus Dan Severn. You know Dan Severn, you know what I'm talking about. You know Dan, Big Dan, from the 90s. Sticking with Thursday again, I swear that not all of these shows are on a Thursday, but it just turns out that the first four on this list are. It's Will Osprey versus Bandido at the WrestleCon Super Show at 7 p.m. This, for me, is a bit of an indie dream match of 2019, to be honest. You've got Will Osprey, who gradually is not moving away so much from his high-flying style as incorporating more of a power thing into his game, or more of a heavyweight thing generally into his game. But he's still one of the best high flyers in the entire world of wrestling. You've got him going up against another of the best high flyers. And I look at Bandido kind of how I did at Osprey a few years ago, this up-and-comer who could well just revolutionize the whole game when it comes to cruiserweight sort of junior style action. Bandido is rapidly making a name for himself in the sort of, he was a heavy sort of favourite in PWG with the fans, almost won the title. Now he's signed obviously with Ring of Honor, and it looks as though he's just, the world's his oyster at the moment, Bandido. He's got appeal, great appeal because of his moveset and his mask and his fun look and his sort of charisma with his body language and everything. But at the same time, this could well be the breakthrough match that really announces him to a wider and potentially slightly more mainstream audience. Because at WrestleCon, you see fans from everywhere. You see casual fans who've only come along to really meet and take pictures with ex-WWE guys or watch them in the ring or whatever. But because they're there in the building, that hopefully means they'll be exposed to wrestlers that they might not be too familiar with, like Bandido, maybe even like Osprey if they don't watch New Japan. And a key reason that I've included this match on the list as well is because it seems to me like the match out of all these 10 where something's going to happen that, gets gift and goes viral on Twitter and really kind of might threaten to steal the show. There's no guarantee that they're going to do that. I just can't imagine a singles match between Osprey and Bandido where they don't sit backstage beforehand and think, let's do something absolutely wild. Also on the show, there is the Zack Sabre Jr. Open Challenge. No idea who he's going to face, but hopefully it's someone who matches up with him really well, and I'm pretty excited for it. This match I've made minimal notes for, so number 6 is at the House of Glory Culture Clash on Saturday at 2 p.m. And when you see the names in it, when I read this out, you'll see why I haven't made many notes, because it kind of speaks for itself. This match is Low-Ki teaming with LAX, Santana and Ortiz, against Pentagon, the Great Muta, and Tajiri. Who booked this? And are they a genius in real life for real? So yeah, LAX are on fire right now, one of the best tag teams in the world. Low-Ki is still Low-Ki. Tajiri is such a beloved, this is a real hidden gem of an appearance over WrestleMania weekend. And the Great Muta as well, a bona fide legend just doing his thing. And it'll be so thrilling to see them team up with someone who's very much current, very much representative of the current indie scene, like Pentagon. Penta. Damn it. I'm looking forward to seeing what sort of, I mean, to be honest, right, I'm assuming that Tajiri, even though he's going to be cheered wildly because he's Tajiri, I'm assuming he's going to do some heel antics, because that's just what Tajiri does. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with the mist, looking forward to see what Muta does as well, because it's the Great Muta. I mean, there could be so many shenanigans in this match, good ones, entertaining ones in a good way, not like rubbish shenanigans that take away from the finish or whatever. I think this is going to be full of trickery and deception and hard hitting, and it's just going to be so fun. And I can't wait to see it. This genuinely, when I saw it, I turned in my desk, Sam sits behind me, and I went, have you seen this match, Sam? And I read it out, and he just went, F off. He didn't believe me that it was a real thing, but it is real, and I can't wait for it to happen. Number 5, now let's go to a different WrestleCon show. This is WrestleCon US versus the world. America! Yeah! Coming again to save the on Friday at 11 a.m., Team America saves the world by beating the Foreign Menace, and it's going to be, I can't wait for this match, Brian Cage versus Masato Tanaka. So one of Tanaka's most fondly remembered matches, at least in the West, is his match against Mike Awesome in ECW, where they just tore each other apart, and it was incredible. And this, if Tanaka can still go, because I'm not too familiar with his career these days, if he can still go to any sort of degree, him and Brian Cage could really do something special. And I think it's too obvious a callback for them not to pay homage to that original match in some way, especially given the tragic circumstances surrounding Mike Awesome's death. Hopefully they really do pay tribute to him by maybe repeating one or two of the spots or something. There's going to be something, I think, quite poignant in this match, and I think it could be an emotional high point of the whole weekend. It's also one of those matches that could really, like I said with Osprey and Bandido, it could really solidify Brian Cage as a guy of the future, as a guy who's really going to take over in the next year or two, especially given his status as one of the top guys now in Impact Wrestling, because even though we've got all these different companies cropping up these days and all different things happening with All Elite and everything, you know, being a major player in Impact Wrestling still holds a lot of clout in 2019, especially compared to other indie shows where they might be more popular with a niche audience, but they're not going to have quite the same level of mainstream exposure. So I think that this could really help really solidify Brian Cage as the next guy. I can't believe he hasn't been signed by WWE yet. I don't know what's going on there. But if he has a great match with Tanaka, and I think he probably will, then this could be a major landmark in his career. And maybe even in Tanaka's career too, looking back on it, who knows. So I had to make an addition to my notes because, oh my god, have you heard about the Dragon Gate visa issues, right? Basically, some of the guys from Dragon Gate have struggled getting visas and they can't wrestle over WrestleMania weekend. Very sad state of affairs. One of them is Pac, so that's a pretty big loss. The other one is the man that he defeated to become the current Dragon Gate champion, so that's Masato Yoshino, who, honestly, one of his matches from this same show, this WrestleCon US versus the World thing, was on the original top 10 list, and I had to replace it with a different match. So that was Yoshino versus Rich Swann, which isn't happening anymore. But there is, hopefully, as long as no one else, has any visa issues, there is a really good 6-man tag, which could be like one of those classic Dragon Gate tag matches where the action is just intense and non-stop. So it's the Rascals, Desmond Xavier, Zachary Wentz and Trey Miguel versus the Red Stable, so that's Daga, Aita and Big R Shimizu. That could be very good. I'm not too familiar with all the Dragon Gate guys, but I've seen enough GIFs to know that they're good at the old wrestling. I've just summed up my job there. That's basically what I do. Look at GIFs and pretend I know stuff. Number 4, let's talk about WrestleMania. I had to include WrestleMania 35 on this list. Rude not to, really, given the fact that it's WrestleMania weekend. The match that I'm going to go for, after quite a bit of deliberation, is the main event, the Raw Women's Championship match between Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, because it's the one I'm most intrigued about. the other matches that I'm going to mention from Mania that I'm excited for are Bryan versus Kingston, because come on Kofi, and Rollins versus Lesnar, because I genuinely don't know who's going to win that one. It seemed like Rollins was definitely going to win. Now I've got no idea. But this women's triple threat match, it's so important and it's so significant historically, and it's so intriguing. I don't know what's going to happen. There's all the rumours of Ronda potentially leaving afterwards. There's the whole idea of, Becky's surely going to win, but can you imagine the furore if she doesn't? Or can you imagine the emotional high point if she does, and everyone gets what they want? Everyone gets what they want? I'm sounding like Batista. Everyone gets what they want after a few months of real sort of inconsistent storytelling. I think they can save this. I think they can really wrap things up with a nice bow if this match delivers and if they book the result that we want. I think one of those things is more likely than the other. I think the match is definitely going to deliver because Ronda's shown such an affinity for professional wrestling given her lack of experience. Charlotte Flair is one of the best in the game, and and Becky Lynch has all the momentum in the world. So I think this is the match I'm most excited for, or at least most curious about, because I think it could go either way and it could really have a very positive or a very negative reaction. It's going to be the match that really defines WrestleMania weekend. For the sake of, I've done it for the other matches, so WrestleMania starts at 7 p.m. on Sunday. 7 p.m. for the main card. 5, I think, for the pre-show. Definitely 7 p.m. Eastern for the main card. Number 3, now we have to talk about another one of the most high-profile shows of the entire weekend. It's New Japan Pro Wrestling and Ring of Honor's G1 Supercard from Madison Square Garden. So this is on Saturday, starting at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and it's going to be, well, the match that I'm personally most excited for is the IC title match between Tetsuya Naito and Kota Ibushi. For me, this is one of the most exciting matches on the card because it's truly unpredictable. I have no idea who's going to win. Naito has been talking in his promos about wanting to be a double champion, holding the IC belt and the heavyweight championship as well. So he needs to retain the IC belt, obviously, like at this show for that to happen. Whereas Ibushi, I think, has a huge year in store. He's my early pick to win the G1 Climax tournament later on, and I think that he is going to be IWGP heavyweight champion within the next 12 months. Oh, that's a big call, but I think it's going to happen. However, just because one of these guys loses this match doesn't necessarily mean that all the momentum's gone. That could just be an excuse to free them up to step into the main event scene, the heavyweight title picture once again. The other reason this match is so exciting as well is because whenever Ibushi and Naito clash, they have like almost a 5-star match or a 5-star match. They're always in the region of putting on like near perfect matches. They've got such a good chemistry. Also, it's just terrifying though, isn't it? Because in their last match, they were like in the New Japan Cup, they were like dropping each other on the heads and stuff. And it's a spectacle, but just take it easy, lads, all right? Just be careful, please. Quite a few matches on this card that I'm excited for as well, to be honest. So I'm going to give honourable mentions to Will Osprey versus Jeff Cobb, title versus title. That's going to be really good. Ishimori versus Dragon Lee versus Bandido, a triple threat for the junior heavyweight title. And I think that Takahashi could come back from injury after that, maybe. Jay Lethal versus Marty Scurll versus Matt Taven in a ladder match for the ROH title. And Jay White versus Kazuchika Okada, of course, for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Now let's go to Thursday, midday Eastern, because that is when we'll see Evolve 125. Now, this honestly, right, last year Evolve put on a great show over WrestleMania weekend. This year could easily top it. It's got some wicked matches on the card, but the one that I have to mention is the main event for the Evolve Championship between the champion Austin Theory and NXT's Kyle O'Reilly. Now, normally when there's a match like this, where there's a guy from a bigger promotion like Kyle O'Reilly against a guy from a smaller promotion like Austin Theory, you'd look at it and you'd think, well, Austin's the champion, he's probably not going to lose the belt, but it's probably not going to be a clean finish at all. In fact, it might be a DQ or a no contest because WWE aren't going to want Kyle O'Reilly to lose. But basically, the long and short of it is, this guy's going to keep his title, this guy's going to remain looking strong. I'm not certain if that's going to happen here for two reasons. One, we've already seen guys from WWE come down and win titles, like the Street Profits and the Evolve Tag Team titles, or like Fabian Eichner, and this very title we're talking about, actually, I forgot about that. But the other reason as well is that I just think that both Triple H and Evolve Management have a bit of a revolutionary mind for the business, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Kyle O'Reilly win this title and then show up at TakeOver with it over his shoulder. I mean, that would be awesome. Great exposure for Evolve. Makes, the NXT storyline more interesting and more inventive, which Triple H seems to be a fan of doing. And I just think it could happen. This match is by no means a foregone conclusion. But regardless, even if Austin Theory retains his title, this match is going to be incredible. He is one of the brightest up-and-comers in the entire world of independent wrestling, and I think it's only a matter of time probably until we see him in NXT. And Kyle O'Reilly, already an indie legend and now sort of a cult figure, a cult hero of NXT, despite being in a stable with various different popular, with Adam Cole. He's in a stable with Adam Cole and people still love him just as much, which is an incredible achievement. He's hilarious, he's a great wrestler as well, and I can't wait to see him in a singles match again, because we don't see enough Kyle O'Reilly singles matches basically. This match could be match of the weekend, but there was one other that just shaded it for me. And you can probably guess what it is. Although just before I get to that, I will mention another match on the Evolve card that has me really excited too. Montez Ford versus Shane Strickland. Oh, that's going to be a good one too. Now on to number one. So Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern, you know what it is. NXT TakeOver New York. And the match I'm going for is the main event. Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole. 2 out of 3 falls for the vacant NXT Championship. And I know I said that not all of this list was about match quality or what's going to steal the show or what's going to steal the weekend. But some of them are, some of the matches are, and this one I think will be a real match of the year contender and possibly the best match of the entire weekend. WWE have done really well in choosing Adam Cole as a viable replacement here for Tommaso Ciampa, because obviously this was originally meant to be Gargano versus Ciampa, and it was meant to be the scene of Gargano's ultimate triumph. He was going to finally win the title from Ciampa, he was going to finally right all the wrongs and everything. And unfortunately Ciampa needed surgery and it took that all away, and it was a real shame for everybody involved, especially for Ciampa, and Gargano of course too. But Adam Cole was a really good choice of replacement. He won a very exciting match on NXT TV to become the number one contender, or the co-number one contender with Gargano. And honestly, he's been talking so much about how this is Undisputed Era's year, they're going to hold all the gold and everything. And I think we were supposed to originally laugh at that because they weren't winning, they were losing their titles to like the War Raiders and stuff. But then you look at this match and you think, is he going to win? Is Adam Cole going to steal Johnny Gargano's moment? And is there a better villain to do so than the ultimately so smarmy Adam Cole? I don't know if there is. I think that would be a great story. I also think that Gargano winning would be a great story too. They can't really do any wrong here. And I've also seen various people on Twitter talking about, I was in Ohio and I saw this NXT house show and Gargano versus Cole was the main event and it was scarily good. It was mind-blowingly insane. So that's got me really excited too. It's got a lot of hype to live up to certainly, but man, it's going to be, it's hopefully going to be an incredible match. Then again, it has a really good card to follow as well. So my honourable mentions for TakeOver are probably Matt Riddle versus Velveteen Dream and Pete Dunne versus Volta, which I know for a fact is Matthew's most anticipated match of WrestleMania weekend. So that's it. Those are 10 matches that you have to see over WrestleMania weekend. Once again, all the streaming information is in the description. And yeah, it's gonna be crazy. Cannot wait to see it. It's gonna be a very busy weekend for us, but we're very, very excited to cover WrestleMania for you. And it's just gonna be a great time. Isn't it exciting? We're nearing the end of the road to WrestleMania. Let's bloody go. Thanks very much for watching, and let us know what you think in the comments section down below. You can follow Cultaholic on Twitter at Cultaholic and on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you enjoy what we do, then please do check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Cultaholic, where you can pledge. And don't forget, of course, most importantly of all, to hit subscribe and to join us.